the North End. This is the North End.
What's going on, soccer fans? My name is Luke Connolly from the North End, and we're here with another week of fantasy tips. Now, it is a bit of a crazy week. There has been a lot of upsets in the last week. Last week didn't really go as planned, certainly. Obviously, if you had Mo Salah, Brian Ireland decided to triple captain him, so that worked out pretty well. For the rest of us, a lot of underperformers this week. But we can make up for it now. Now, there's a lot of big movement because of certain injuries, so we're going to get to that. But let's start, as we always do, with our defensive options. So, again, because of the run of games they've got coming up, just to check, Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley, it's still got to be Chelsea. Now, I know they've just lost two key players up front. We will get to that later on. But defensively, they are very sound, and they are not conceding that many goals. The problem here is that they also have a very fully fleshed out squad. Thiago Silva's back available. Alonso made an appearance midweek. Rudiger also playing in that game a couple of days ago. So it's really hard to see and to know where to go here. I'm going to give two little bits of advice. If you're looking for a cheap option that may be a bit of a beauty, you've got to look at Chaloba. Chaloba is Chaloba, I should say. Yeah, I said that right. 4.8 million, a real bargain considering that he's playing a lot of 90-minute games. The problem is, as I said, with Thiago Silva coming back and then other options in Rudiger and stuff as well, is he going to find himself back on the bench? Potentially. But at 4.8 million with the run of fixtures that Chelsea have, and they do like him. They do seem to like him. He seems to be a bit of a fan favourite already, and he can hit a hell of a ball, as we've seen. So that's number one. But if you want a guaranteed at Chelsea, you're going to have to spend a bit of money. You've got to go Azpilicueta. He's the captain, 6.2 million. It is a lot of money, but a guaranteed starter, and with that run of fixtures. And he likes to get forward and pick up some assists. He leads by example. 2 assists 2 weeks ago. I think he scored 14, 15 points. It was a fantastic game week, or maybe 13, but even so, for a defender, very good. So 6.2 million is a lot. If you can afford him, get him in. Definitely worthwhile. The other option, I'm going to give you another cheap option, is, I don't think any of us are expecting this, but Livramento over at Southampton. Now, nobody was really expecting this guy to play as much as he has. He's gone in very much like Duffy over O'Brien, a very solid pick. He's valued at 4.3 million, up from 4 million since the start of the season. And it doesn't appear to be too bad of an option. Southampton keeping a lot more clean sheets than I think most of us would have given them credit for. And their run of fixtures isn't terrible either. They've got Burnley up next, who've scored just 5 goals the whole season, the third lowest in the Premier League. Newcastle and Norwich propping up those numbers. But again, 4.3 million for a defender who's playing week in, week out and is keeping a decent amount of clean sheets. It's a good option there to have. And he's a big lad, likes to get forward in those corner options, and maybe a couple of stray goals here and there. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to go to midfield. There's only one guy that I'm going to focus on. I'm sorry, there is always fear with Man City players because of this damn rotation that Pep loves to do. And he got me last week with Jack Grealish, so fuck you, Pep, thanks for that. You made me look ridiculous. You're not going to get me this week, he said, and then goes, maybe he won't. Kevin De Bruyne, KDB, 11.9 million. We're starting to see him at his best. I think he's had at least 8 points in both game weeks, 19 points in total from the last 2. And he looks like the KDB that we've known for years, without the injuries, leading by example, captain De Bruyne. He's got to be a great pick, and with a lot of top earning and top costing player options not looking too great right now, it could be a good idea to save money elsewhere and invest it into your midfield. So KDB is my number one choice. From there, we're going to go to my team, Aston Villa. Now, I know a bit of a strange pick off the back of a sad defeat there to Wolverhampton, and I'm still not over it, but Villa look like a team that can do damage. We're scoring goals, we are competitive in all the games, we're just not seeing the games out. So that starts to think about assists and goals. So Villa bringing back a number of options. Keenan Davis back in training, a very cheap option, not who I'm recommending. John Mcginn is where my head is kind of sitting right now. Mcginn is valued at 5.8 million. It's a very small amount of money for a guy who's playing week in, week out, 90 minutes. And has been deployed further forward. As we've seen for Scotland, they're using him as that attacking option now. He picked up a goal and an assist in the last couple of weeks. He's doing really, really well. Number of high scoring kind of weeks, a couple of high scoring weeks, but at 5.8 million, there's real value there. The other option is my man Leon Bailey from Jamaica. He is a bit of a strange one. Villa fans were very excited to get Leon into this team. However, we've not really seen much of him. He has made a total of, let me just confirm this, 84 minutes of game time, which, considering this is week 9, is a little disconcerting. However, in those 84 minutes played, he's scored 1 and assisted 2. So in under a full 90 minutes, a full game, he's got 2 assists and a goal. He looks very dangerous when he came on and did the business a couple of weeks back. If he can stay fit, he's back in contention. Dean Smith is talking about him. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him getting the start, or at least coming on fairly soon into the game. Villa don't have a terrible run of fixtures. It's a nice option, and he's dangerous, and he's tricky, and he puts some deadly balls into the box, and that is what Danny Ings is missing. So if Ings can be there, we know Ings is a good finisher of the ball and knows where to be. He just isn't getting that supply, so hopefully that's what Bailey offers. And then the final option is going to be Kai Havertz. Now, we all know this week Chelsea obviously did great in the European leagues. Unfortunately, they lost both of their strikers, so they were without an actual striker going into the next couple of games. Werner and Lukaku both likely to be out for a couple of weeks, it seems. So we're going to have to look for other options. Now, Kai Havertz, 8.1 million in the midfield. They're probably going to deploy him as a false 9, and he's been pretty good at the end of last season and looks to sit in that role quite nicely. I think you're going to see Hudson-Odoi playing as well, so expect that same competitive and a lot of attacking options. I'm looking at where are the goals going to come from, and I'm thinking they're going to go with Kai Havertz in that position. Now, time will tell, but at 8.1 million, it's a bit of a risk, but you need those differentials to really start getting you away from everyone else in your league. Finally, we're going to go to striking. Now, there are 3 options here. Number 1 has to be Jamie Vardy at 10.6 million. He has scored 5 goals in his last 4 appearances. This is the Vardy and the party, and all of those rhyming slangs are back. Jamie is getting younger, and he cannot stop scoring right now. Full 90 minutes played most of the weeks he's played. They don't want to drop this guy, and you can understand why, and Leicester look really, really good, and they're getting the ball into him well. Good option. Now, little more of a risk one, but if they get him some game time, this is a real value to be had, and that is Daka, 7.1 million. Now, if you're like, oh, who's Daka? He's the other striker at Leicester. They're not the Iheanacho or the Vardy. Well, he's only had a little bit of game time, and he scored in a 26-minute appearance. Last week against United, he got the last goal. This week, he scored 4 goals against Spartak Moscow, gave them the win in a gripping 4-3 game. 7.1 million, he's a great bargain, and this guy, he's the Austrian, I'm pretty sure the Austrian top goal scorer last year. Really, really hot prospect, and he looks very, very hungry for goals right now. I don't know how Rodgers is going to work him in, but you've got to imagine he's going to try and squeeze him into that starting 11. So definitely worth an option there. A thought at 7.1. He's very cheap. It's a good striking option. Finally, going cheap to wrap it all up, we're going to go with Wang again at Wolverhampton. Now, Wang didn't have a great game against Villa. Didn't really score any points, didn't do a whole lot, but he was there, and Wolves have got a fairly interesting game coming up against Leeds. Leeds have conceded 15 goals this year. It's the 3rd worst of the league. And we're starting to wonder, is this a bit of second season syndrome for them? We're not sure. But Wang looks good. Now, Wolverhampton have been playing pretty decent football. The problem is they've not been finishing. That's where Wang and now an in-form and fit again Jimenez come into play. He is 5.8 million. It's a great, great bargain option if you need to save money. He's just throwing it out there, you're saving money on your Ronaldos or your Lukakus, who I would be looking at rolling out. Lukaku definitely. Ronaldo, stick or twist, I don't really know. It's you've got to make that decision. But I would personally be thinking there's better options than those two right now. You get him in, you easily avoid your jump up, no matter who you're trying to invest in with KDB. Could be a solid option because I think everything's going to come through him in that Man City team. But it's hard to say. They're my choices and they're my options. Load back in the defensive and the goal-kicking option if you can avoid it in Mendy at Chelsea. Midfield, look to the likes of Man City with KDB. Look to the likes of Chelsea again. But forward options, it's got to be Vardy, Leicester and Wang for your cheap option. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Luke. This is the North End Podcast. Make sure you give us a follow. And if you want me to talk about something more than another, please let me know. I'm all ears. Really, I have no fans, no friends. I'm desperate desperate for your affection and your respect. So let me know. Best of luck in game week 9. We'll see you next week.